Hi, welcome back to Sean's Eye View, and this week we are in Kensington in London, and coming up we'll go for a walk through Kensington Gardens, Hyde Park, the Albert Hall, down to the museums and on up to Knightsbridge. Starting here, just round the corner from my hotel on Kensington High Street, and across the street here is the old Barker's department store. You know it's empty now.
What happened to Whole Foods?
I think the Whole Foods is still there in the corner,
Oh, okay.
but I once went to a party at the famous roof gardens up top once, a
I
long
never,
time ago.
I never got to go.
No, I was lucky. It was a work thing. So just along the street, and you're in Kensington Gardens. And we're going to start with a walk past Kensington Palace.
Possibly most famous for the Diana tributes, 1997.
Yes, because that's where she used to live, and
Yeah,
now Prince William and Princess of Wales live there as well.
and a couple of others.
Yeah, there's various royals live there. But unfortunately, I couldn't visit during my trip because, as you can see, it was under renovation. So I went for a walk here around the round pond. And it's great to think this is space in the middle of one of the biggest cities in Europe.
I spent a lot of time in Hyde Park, which is
Adjacent.
Kensington Gardens, Hyde Park, for people who don't know, large rectangular space, kind of divided down the middle diagonally. I spent more time in the right-hand side, Hyde Park. Kensington Gardens is just literally over the water. Strange distinction, but slightly more less formal in Kensington Gardens, weirdly, I always find. Hyde Park a little bit more open, a little bit more spacious, but really, really, really nice place, always.
Yeah, and you can see people were out walking their dogs. It was a weekday morning. It was a nice space to walk through and get to clear my head. And so here's the Italian gardens, which I'd never been to these before ever.
I first went there in 1989 when I first moved to London, and it's still possibly one of my most favourite places in London. I just love it. I don't know why, I just do. That's at the end of the Long Water, which is the piece of water that separates the two sides. And it's just fantastic. It's by Lancaster Gate, isn't it?
And again, that's in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So calm. So you can see in the distance there, that's the Knightsbridge Barracks, which is an army base with Royal Household Cavalry, I think, Horse Guards. Anyway,
Peter Pan statue commemorating J.M. Barrie's book, built in 1912.
I'd never seen this before either.
I walked past it quite a few times. It's kind of not on one of the main thoroughfares, I think.
No, it's just by the Long Water, but yeah, it was nice to see it. And of course, Henry Moore Arch across the water there, one of Britain's renowned sculptors.
Not my favourite. Impressive, but not my thing.
And then here we are, and this opened in 2004. It's the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fountain. It's
Low profile.
low profile, interesting. The water flows around in a circle uphill, so it must be assisted somewhere.
Yeah.
And fittingly, this is across from the Serpentine Gallery where she debuted her revenge dress,
The little
rather
black dress.
famously. Yes. So it's a calm spot for reflection.
Here we look down the Serpentine.
And on the horizon, you can see the Hilton Hotel and then the Shard beyond. And there'll be videos coming up featuring both of those.
One of my old workplaces, the Hilton.
And on the southern edge of Hyde Park is Rotten Row. As you can see, it's a bridle path where you can see horses running, cantering, exercising,
Yeah.
if you're lucky, and you have to keep out of the way.
There's barracks horses and there's a private stables on the southern edge of the park as
Yeah.
well.
And then right next to that is the Albert Memorial here. Now, the last time Sean and I were here together was during the filming of a Bollywood movie dance sequence on the steps.
No idea which one it was.
There must have been about 200 dancers in
Yeah.
full Bollywood geesh.
And it was similar weather as well. So it was, although it was probably a dream sequence, I'm not sure what sort of dream it was.
Anyway, it's a very nice memorial to Prince Albert. And opposite is the Royal Albert Hall, a music venue. I've been there once for Christmas carols.
I've never been inside.
It's amazing in the round when they do it fully in the round.
Incredibly impressive space. Very famous in the UK for the proms.
And other concerts, though, if you can go online, you can see on YouTube Dua Lipa there, Adele there, even Robbie Williams did a
Yeah, he
one
did a
night there,
special.
didn't he? And Kylie did one too. So,
Yeah,
yes, very popular and very fond in British culture. And behind it, fittingly, is the Royal College of Music.
famous school.
Yeah. And so from here, I then started to walk down towards South Kensington, where the famous museums are. But of course, along Queen's Gate, somewhere Sean has always wanted to live in a house like this.
I just like the style.
And there's the Thailand embassy just across. So I thought it was worth including.
Yes.
Although some of these buildings are looking a little worse for wear.
I think the white paint doesn't hold up very well with the weather.
Yeah, as you can see, it's not sunny. And so here's the Natural History Museum. So when I was a kid living in the south of England, we used to come up to London in the school holidays and we'd always go to the museums, one of them at least. There's a cluster of them together. And this one, I always refer to it as a cathedral of evolution.
Nice, I like it. It's good.
Yeah, it's a fantastic collection. This is a very large blue whale, and there is the statue of Charles Darwin.
Such an impressive building. It always amazes just to walk. You can spend hours and hours and hours walking around here.
And the collection is fantastic. And you'll see coming up, they have some awesome dinosaur specimens. Here's one right here in the entrance. I didn't go around the full museum because I only had a short time, but yeah,
It could take days.
it does. And next door is the Science Museum. I didn't go in this one this time.
I've only been in once with you.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fantastic space. Absolutely fantastic.
Very good discovery for children. And then Victoria and Albert Museum is right next door for decorative arts.
This is my favourite.
And
Again,
why is it your favourite, Sean?
because of the breadth of the collections, it's absolutely huge. However, you didn't go into my favourite space, which
I
is the
know.
cafe.
I'm sorry. It was raining.
Incredibly decorative room that's been a tea room for God knows how long. And it's just a beautiful building. But again, the collections are just mind boggling. The amount, the size, the diversity. There is always a rotating space for different collections, different exhibitions, new pieces. Just stunning.
They have modern things. They have fashion history. They have historical furnitures and antiquities.
Yeah,
And there's now a new extension museum opened in East London.
which looks incredible. It's like basically it's their vault.
Yeah, I want to go and see that next time. So you can see the rain is really starting to come down now. But anyhow, I decided to head on up along Brompton Road towards Knightsbridge. This is Brompton Oratory, one of the largest Catholic churches in London.
Famous landmark. Never been in.
Me neither. And so this is Brompton Road, very classic because of Harrods coming up here on the right. And you can see it was not a sunny day at all. It wasn't
Nice.
great for going out.
Nice London summer.
Yeah. So Harrods is a world famous department store. It used to be owned by the famous Al Fayed family and is now owned by the Qatari royal family. No longer has royal warrants and crests on the
No.
side because it is no longer the purveyor of groceries to the palace.
Your family.
So anyhow, I popped inside and here's the food halls. They're well known. As you can see, quite a wide selection of different things to eat and some on site. Generally though, when I went into Harrods, it did feel just like a Bangkok department store.
A time all.
There were all the concessions that we have at home. It didn't feel any different, I'm
No.
afraid. But if you're in the area and you want a mooch around and some nice food maybe, this is a good place to go have a look. And so this building used to be my old head office when we were working and living out in the Far East and the Middle East. I used to come into London on business trips, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and this is where I'd be based, at Knightsbridge Green. It's no longer there.
Here you've got One Hyde Park, new-ish, very exclusive, very expensive residential development next door to the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Very nice. Used to be called the Hyde Park. Harvey Nichols, fashionable store, fantastic bar on the 5th floor. Very worth a visit.
Absolutely, sweetie darling.
Fabulous.
And here's the final stop of the trip. Up on Knightsbridge is the Park Tower Hotel. It used to be called the Sheraton Park Tower, and this is where Sean and I would stay, or I would stay when we were back over for my work trips. Very nice location, right on Knightsbridge.
Very nicely placed. Always.
I want to go to the Mandarin next time, please.
I would like to go there too.
Hi, welcome back to Sean's Eye View, and this week we are taking a walk around Holborn and St Pancras in London. We are going to show you some of the green squares and gardens of the neighbourhood, including Russell Square, starting here in Tavistock Square Gardens, and then we'll head past one of my old workplaces and many of the pubs that I went drinking in with my colleagues, and then walk up through the neighbourhood towards ending at St Pancras Station. So this is the Kensington Hotel that opened a few years ago. It's a renovation. What was it called before, Sean?
The Russell Square or the Bloomsbury? One of the two.
The rooms are quite small, but it's very funky designed and has quite a cool bar. And it's just on Russell Square here. And it's good to see there are still some phone boxes left in London, although these ones probably seen better days. I don't think many tourists are going to be posing for photos here. And a nice Uber bike on the floor in the corner, which littering the streets of London they are now these days.
Were those phone boxes even in use? I'm not sure.
Some time ago maybe. So this is Russell Square, nice green and lots of space and a coffee shop. So walking down towards Holborn Station, I cut through into Queen's Square. And so this is a garden just behind the Great Ormond Street Hospital. But it's also a residential area, and people live in the neighbourhood, and it's good green space for them to get out and explore. And just across from Holborn is Red Lion Square here, which is directly opposite the building I used to work in. So, yep, been in here a few times for fire escape emergencies. This is my old office building. It looks like it's closed now totally and being renovated for reoccupation. And so here, come out the office, turn left, head up there, alleyway, and this is where I used to walk for lunch. And right at the end is a nice English pub, the Dolphin. Very traditional, very simple. Stood outside a lot of times, putting the world to rights with my colleagues.
And once we were in Bangkok, we had a meet-up there.
Yeah, we met friends there. I think they enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a nice evening.
It's a good price. It's not too expensive. And then not far away is the Old Nick, very popular for company drinks after work. And one time I missed the last train home to Sheffield. And here's Sawadika, a Thai restaurant that was very near my office where we've had a few meals, haven't we, Sean?
I remember that one, it was good.
And then further down Holborn is the border with the City of London, the actual technical city. And so this is a very old building around the courts, Inns of Court. And this is the Rosewood Hotel, very nice. It's got a good bar in there, Scarf's Bar.
Really nice.
Yeah, excellent gin bar.
Good restaurant too.
And then, of course, being a working area, there's lots of places for lunch. Oh, I do miss Waitrose, and we miss Pret a Manger, of course. So we'll just cut through this alleyway, walking down to Lincoln's Inn Fields. Now, this is 8 o'clock on a Friday morning. It's normally very busy with people coming to work, but you can see there's virtually nobody around. And London is full of these little alleyways between neighbourhoods and main roads, and you see lots of these, especially where people work. You see lots of these Italian family-run cafes. And now I'm really worried that because there's no one going to work in the offices for
on a Friday,
people working from home, these places are going to suffer with not much business, which is a shame. So you go down a really tight alleyway here, and this is the Ship, another pub. And then things open up a little bit, and we head down towards Lincoln's Inn Fields. And this is Redemption Roasters, a coffee chain where the staff are all former prisoners on their redemptions. So down past Lincoln's Inn Fields to the LSE is the Old Curiosity Shop. This is one of the oldest buildings in London that survived the fire. It's from the late 15th century, and it's famous in my family because it used to be, well, it is an image that we had on a table mat.
Which we still have.
Yes.
And it was made famous by Charles Dickens.
Yes. And now we're in Lincoln's Inn Fields, which is surrounded by lots of legal offices, being the Inns of Court, because it's very near the High Court. It's a nice green space in the centre of the city, perfect for taking lunch and getting away from the office. Now heading back north towards St Pancras Station. I always like this street. I think it's a classic London layout. It's mostly offices, unfortunately, but it'd be nice to live there, don't you think?
It looks beautiful. A little wider than some, which is great.
That's why it's an attractive place, not too congested. Now up here on Theobald's Road, just up from my old office, and now crossing here, and we'll head into the community that leads down to St Pancras. And of course another pub from drinks from work.
Looks like an old fire station.
And a fish and chip shop. This one's quite a classic and it's been running for years, as you can see. Hasn't been renovated, but good quality fish and chips. So this is Lamb's Conduit Street, which is a residential area heading north from Holborn towards St Pancras, and it is a really nice place. I'd like to live here as well if I could. Lots of cafes, restaurants, bars, and nice independent shops. And yes, I've had work drinks in this wine bar as well. Of course, it's just across the road. And I promise this is the last pub I'm going to feature for work lunch trips, because any further away than this you wouldn't have enough time.
And so what, 15 minutes?
Yeah, that's enough. And there's Redemption Roasters, the original branch across. So this is a really nice neighbourhood, and I'd like to go back there. So now I'm heading into Brunswick Square Gardens, which is the last garden before the Euston Road as you head north. And it's famous because of the Brunswick Centre, which is right next door, coming up. So the Brunswick Centre is a brutalist modern housing and retail development from the 1960s.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's famous. If you're a Star Wars fan, you would have seen Andor, and this is where one of the characters lived in his rather grim apartment, which I'm sure is nothing like the reality of actually living here.
Well, no, because the design of this is famous because it's triangular, so that even the lower down flats have large lights.
Yes, and there's lots of space.
Whereas in the science fiction series, this represents the lower level of some sort of social housing hell.
And just behind the Brunswick Centre is Gaze the Word bookstore.
Open since 1979. Very important part of gay culture, gay history in London.
Absolutely. It's a bookstore and gift shop, and we recommend if you're in town to stop by, as it's independently owned. And here's the British Library just next to the station. It's fantastic, with a great gift shop and really good exhibits.
Next door to the library is St Pancras Hotel, which is the frontage of the St Pancras station. Important to me because this is where I used to come in and out of London when I first moved there to get the train back home to Sheffield. Back then, the hotel was empty, completely abandoned. The station inside looked like a greasy goods yard. It was a horrible place, absolutely terrible.
And the famous location for the Spice Girls video for Wannabe.
Depending on your age, you remember it as the place for the Spice Girls, or where Harry Potter drove the flying car from.
Yeah. It was designed by Sir Gilbert Scott, and the same person behind the Houses of Parliament. Since
the late 90s, early 2000s, it became the second home of the Eurostar trains when they moved out of Waterloo. And that was one of the main reason for the refurb which has completely remodeled the whole station. It brought life back to the hotel. It's now a hotel and a residence. The inside of the station is just
Spectacular. Yeah.
unbelievably different from what it used to be. They kept the same shape, they kept the same architecture, they redid the roof, but it's just a world away.
Oh, this is a world-class station now. I mean, it's, obviously you can go to Amsterdam, Brussels and Paris and maybe soon other destinations. And you can see it's got great retail, it's got space, there's nice bars and restaurants. The old ticket hall of the station is now a restaurant of the hotel. But it means a lot to us because this is where we spend time either arriving into London from Sheffield or heading that way.
Yeah. It's just absolutely wonderful now. And yes, the ticket hall was the ticket hall that I used to buy my tickets in. So it's very weird, but it's really, really great place now.
And here's the place where you stand with anxiety. Is your reserved seat going to be free when heading to Sheffield?
Or have they changed the train completely so there are no reservations anymore?
So we hope you enjoyed this tour. Thank you very much.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, and leave us a comment.
Okay, bye-bye. Hello, welcome back to Sean's Eye View, and this week we are going through a walk in Mayfair, an area in London where both Sean and I have spent a lot of time in our lives.
It was where I first moved to in
Yeah,
1989.
and I had clients and worked in that area as well.
Looks a bit different now.
Yeah, so this is probably a place where I would have got arrested if I'd taken a video a few years ago. This is the former US Embassy, and it's now the Rosewood Hotel. It hadn't quite opened when I was here.
Located on Grosvenor Square.
And there's actually a statue of Ronald Reagan about to be unopened.
Really?
Yeah, it was wrapped up.
Oh, I didn't
outside.
know that.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, go back and have a look.
Anybody who's a fan of Netflix Bridgerton, this is where the houses are.
Ah. Right, so moving along a bit into Mount Street, and this is the famous Connaught Hotel on a very nice corner.
Real old standard hotel. Very, very well respected and well deserved respect. Beautiful area, lots of that pink stone, very iconic. Lovely place to have a little walk around.
And Mount Street here, beautiful shopping.
Mount Street Gardens is a real hidden gem. Not widely known.
No.
Nice and quiet. Beautiful little space. Used in TV and film a lot. But really, really nice space to have a nice quiet little walk.
Yeah, I used to come here with my lunch sometimes because I used to work just around the corner. You know, just somewhere to get out from the office and sit. As you can see, there's a lot of seats.
Very nice little place.
So what's the history of Mayfair then, Sean?
Mayfair is actually started at a Mayfair, and we'll see the location of that towards the end of the video.
Oh, in Shepherd's Market.
Shepherd's Market.
Yeah.
But yeah, it held a fair at Hyde Park, and part of Mayfair was literally sheep grazing.
Right. So it was country, sort of farmland. And
Yeah, I mean,
Wonderful place.
Westminster was its own city, and this was way beyond that. So it was countryside. And then there was a park lane
Yeah.
when they started dividing the parks up, which grew and grew and grew.
Which is where Grosvenor House is. If you've seen that video, you'll know. Yeah.
And the old Park Lane that ends at Hard Rock Cafe is still there. That's the demarcation line sort of thing. But yeah, Mayfair is an old area that became famous for houses when it was divided up, I think 16 or 1700s, and became very, very, very exclusive. Large plots of land, large houses, some of which became hotels, like we've mentioned before. Then it became quite famous for embassies.
Oh yeah, there's lots
ambassadors'
of
houses.
official residences and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
And here in Mount Street Gardens, you can have a good look through the windows because it's right up to the
It's
back of the building.
yeah.
So this is the other end, and there's another church here, beautiful, on Lower Audley Street.
The restaurant to the left there, I can't remember its name, but it used to be really famous.
And this is typical.
That's bog standard, that is, for that part of
A roller
Mayfair.
on the street.
course.
You know, just casually in residence parking.
Very nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice to live around there, wouldn't it? So this is Farm Street, which is, that's actually the pub where we had our leaving drinks when I left to go to Hong Kong with the work team.
The first time or the second time?
when I left WPP.
Oh, wow.
Because the head office was technically a little mews house coming up along here. The Punch Bowl, that's the one that Guy Ritchie owns.
Is it owned? Owns? I can't remember.
Or she bought it for him, anyway.
I can't remember.
There, that white building, that was the WPP head office. And then this building here that's been renovated, that's the back of the office building I used to work in.
Oh, I didn't realise that's where we were.
And there's another pub we used to go to when I was working at WPP.
That's the one I remember.
Yeah,
Down.
not the classiest of places.
No. Well, you were a regular, so.
And so this is Berkeley Square, the other side of the street. So that's the building that I used to be in. It's been totally gutted and renovated.
Again?
Yes, again.
That's less than
I know.
10, 15
It's
years.
been a long time. And so Berkeley Square is famous for a song about a nightingale. I have never seen one.
And lots of very famous old clubs. Not just the gentleman's type, but some of the rather more debauched nightclubs as well.
Oh, I once bumped into Norman Lamont coming out of there once.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Yes. So this is Berkeley Square, nice green square, and over in the corner is Jack Barclay, which is well known as a car dealership. We're coming up here. Look, that's where you get your Bentley.
It's like we said, the normal type of car for that area.
Exactly.
It's your local neighbourhood car dealer.
And here's another pub. Now, we went here with our friends.
Plenty of times.
Yes.
One of the smallest pubs.
It's very, very picturesque, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just around the corner from Bond Street here. And so Bond Street is high-end jewellery and fashion. And
Possibly England's most famous, exclusive, i.e. expensive, street for shopping.
yeah, and as I was walking down here, Tom Hiddleston walked towards me and I forgot to record it. Sorry.
Did you not say hello?
He was with someone.
Okay.
But as you can see, it's very, very famous. And then here's Burlington Arcade, which is lots of small boutiques down the arcade. Again, mostly menswear and fashion, yeah?
Very, very distinct. Some of the shops, they're quite original, if not the names, but the type of things they sell. I mean, there are gents outfitters, bow ties, jackets, waistcoats.
Right. So this is Savile Row, known for tailors. This building, that blue plaque, is where the Beatles performed on the roof, their last concert.
Oh, 1969.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And is the H. Huntsman,
Yes, that's Huntsman. Very nice menswear.
known to people as the basis for Kingsman, the movies.
Yes. And so here we are on Regent Street, which is the boundary of Mayfair, right?
Yeah.
And so Regent Street is a major shopping street. It's got Hamleys up there on the left, and then we're heading down towards Piccadilly Circus. I just realised we're taking you backwards in value down the Monopoly board. So we started at Park Lane and Mayfair, now we're on Regent Street,
Going anti-clockwise.
and we'll be heading to Piccadilly soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regent Street marks the eastern side of Mayfair, going down from Oxford Circus and all the way down to Piccadilly Circus.
Yeah, and there's the Cafe Royal, which is a very nice restaurant and bar.
Very nice, a really nice hidden gem, the bar at the back, the green room. Great little place. Maybe not quite the name continues, but it's not quite the place it was 30 years ago or 150 years ago.
Exactly. Right, Piccadilly Circus, tourist ground zero. Yes, the Trocadero is under redevelopment.
Wow, I've not seen that.
I know.
One of London's landmarks.
Yeah, very famous.
Piccadilly
isn't it?
Circus,
And the
Eros,
statue of Eros, yeah.
the Trocadero, opposite. On the side that we're looking at now, Lily White's, the Criterion restaurant. Again, not quite what it was, but still a great place to go.
So we're here on Piccadilly and we're going to walk towards Jermyn Street. So Jermyn Street is another street of menswear and shoes in particular, isn't it?
Yes.
And I used to work around here with one of my major clients coming up, so I spent a lot of time in this area, walking to and from work or going out for lunch or what have you. And Paxton and Whitfield's here, very good cheese shop.
If not the best.
The best. Then, okay, we're going to call it the best in London.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So if you need some cheese and some shoes, this is where to go. Right, here's St James's Square, which is just up behind St James's Palace.
Yes.
And it's, again, the clubs, members' clubs and the like around here, isn't
Old
it?
houses, old mansions.
Beautiful.
Probably now more full of officers and embassies offices.
But that's one of the clubs there with
Yeah.
the flag. I can't remember the name of it. And there's another one here. I think this is the Explorers or something. So this is Christie's. This used to be my client when I was working in London. And the auction house, it was a great place. Years I spent here working in various different parts of that building as an auditor. And it was a great opportunity to learn about art because there were so many different exhibits and shows. So tucked behind Christie's is this little alleyway, and they actually own the building at the end, and that was used as the audit office once, and I had the keys to it, and it's actually a house.
Oh.
And yeah, I did stay in there a few weekends. My pad in central London.
Oh, where's that?
That's front of Christie's. It's because it was during Pride Month.
Cool.
And then, so coming around the corner, heading on to St James's Street, which leads back up to Piccadilly, and it goes past this Smithson Plaza, it's called now. This used to be the headquarters of The Economist, and a very good friend of mine used to work there, and I'm going to show you where we met, which was roughly where that bus is just passing the shops now. Yeah, this is the Royal Academy on Piccadilly, and I was running to jump on a bus to go home, and she was cycling along, and I landed on her rather than on the bus.
Oh dear.
I know. So Catherine, if you're watching, it's been 30 odd years.
Yes.
And it's great that I still remember exactly where we met.
Lots of shops under renovation.
Look how busy it is. Like, yeah, that's where it is. That used to be a Barclays Bank. That's where I jumped on the bus. Or I missed the bus, rather.
Wasn't it the Caviar House for a while?
Yeah, that's next door, I think. Anyway, so as you can see, very congested on Piccadilly at the moment.
Bit busy.
And here's the Ritz going under some renovation.
Again? Wow.
We haven't been in London for a while.
No, that's
everything's being renovated again.
I haven't spent any length of time there for at least 7-8 years.
You know, I've never been inside.
Neither have I. We should go for tea.
Okay. Who's paying?
We are.
Thanks, subscribers.
Yes, please.
Right, so on the other side of Piccadilly, heading back into the Mayfair side, you come towards Shepherd's Market. Would you like to tell us more about that, Sean?
Shepherd's Market, like I said earlier, has a building in the middle that we'll see coming up on the right once we get through the end of this little lane. And that is the location of the Shepherd's Market, which was the place that held the Mayfair. This little place, Shepherd's Market, I didn't know about it till I'd been in London for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I worked right by the side of it. Once I found out about it, it was a very regular place to go after work, drinks, dinner, and there are a lot of pubs coming.
And here's the We've just gone past the Grapes on the left.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to turn around and see it again.
There's lots of pubs here.
Lots of restaurants and pubs, including the famous Mexican-Polish hybrid combination restaurant.
Yeah. But as a place, I could never find it unless I was drunk. It's kind of hidden away. There are 2 small pedestrian entrances.
Yeah.
And then some strange nondescript looking streets to get onto it.
Yeah.
But
there's the Mexican-Polish place there,
Yeah.
the red one. So yeah, it's really come on, actually. I mean, I remember it being a bit more run down, but now it's quite busy. And it's also quite well known as being a red light district, isn't it?
it has, not actually in the place that we've just seen, but one of the side streets actually hosts the oldest known brothel in London.
So on this street, we've got the Intercon, the hotel we stayed in before we moved to Hong Kong.
We've stayed there a few times.
Yeah, we have. And then I went to a party here in that place behind that wall, looking very nondescript. I can't remember the name of it.
I forgot the name of the
company event.
It's a club and I've forgotten the name.
Anyway, Sean, what's this place here?
The London Hilton on Park Lane, the second hotel I worked at in London. Only there for a year. Very interesting place, very busy, incredible location. One of the newest buildings in Mayfair still, but still has quite a storied history. Famously, Queen Elizabeth objected to its location quite strongly because he believed people could see into her garden.
So I went inside for old time's sake for you to have a look around. I was actually looking for Trader Vic's, but
isn't there anymore?
Gone. Yeah, I know. It's been retro refitted by the look of it.
It looks nice. I mean, to be honest, I can't really remember what the lobby looked like there. It was a little bit nondescript.
Yeah, I think it's quite stylish.
It's nice.
Sort of 60s vibe. And finally, here's the Dorchester.
One of the grand old dames of Mayfair, predates Grosvenor House by a few years. Never actually stayed there,
No.
but we have been to Chinatown in the basement quite a few times.
Yeah, really nice, very nice dim sum,
nice dim
very
sum.
good quality. Hi, welcome back to Sean's Eye View. And this week, join me, Graham, as I take a walk from Green Park to Tower Bridge. And if you know London, it took me most of the day, and I hope you enjoy these highlights. So here we are in Green Park, so named because, as you can see, there's no flowers. Right next to the park, Buckingham Palace. Now, you can see the crowds are here because it's time for the changing of the guard. Now, family legend has it that when my grandfather worked at the palace as a carpenter. He built the replacement crown that sits on top of the flagpole. Now, I don't know how old that is, how true that is, but I like to believe it. Now, I couldn't spend the time waiting for the troops to march past. Unfortunately, I was on my way to meet our friend Simon, who then accompanied me from Whitehall to the rest of the journey. So next stop on my way to Whitehall was St James's Park. Again, one of the royal parks very close to the palace, lots of lovely city views and quite nice for a relaxing walk. So here's Horse Guards Parade with the Admiralty building over on the left, in front of us the Horse Guards Barracks, and then here on the right behind those trees is the back garden of the Prime Minister's residence, number 10 Downing Street. And this was in June, so it was all prepared for Trooping of the Colour coming up for the King's birthday. This is where all the troops march, some on horseback in ceremonial display. And famously, on the other side of Horse Guards, on the Whitehall side, you'll see the horses and the guards. Now, they're on duty. They're not there for tourists and for selfies. They are there for a purpose. You'll see there are signs saying don't get too close. It's not very good behaviour to try and interfere with the horse or the soldier. He is carrying a sword. And at the top of Whitehall is the famous square, Trafalgar Square, with Nelson, Admiral Nelson on his column there in the middle. And on the left we have Canada House, the High Commission for Canada, which I've been inside on a tour, beautiful. And on the right we have South Africa House, and in the middle is the National Gallery. Very recommend to explore if you have the time. And yes, this is a major junction hub in the centre of London, a lot of traffic. And that's looking back down Whitehall, where we're now going to go towards the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben there on the horizon. So here's the entrance to Downing Street, where the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer live. Now, the gates were put up during the Thatcher era, and I do remember as a very small child being brought into Downing Street by my parents, and we stood opposite the famous black and white building just down there on the right, you can see. Here's the cenotaph, Britain's most important war memorial and home of the Remembrance Day services. And this is the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, which is, again, somewhere you can tour on special days. So here, Parliament Square, Houses of Parliament, Big Ben, and Westminster Abbey over on the right. I've marched here, I have walked here as a tourist, and I've walked through here a lot on my way to work as well. It's an important place in London. And then here from Westminster Bridge you get a much better view of the Houses of Parliament. I did go inside once, way back when I should have been studying for an exam. I bunked off and went and sat in the public gallery and watched members of Parliament. And here is the COVID memorial outside St Thomas's Hospital. You can see the red colour on the wall over there. That is made up of hundreds and thousands of small red hearts for everyone who passed away. And now looking the other way towards the London Eye, which has been there since 2000. And there's County Hall. This was formerly the seat of the Greater London Council, where my mum used to work back in the 60s. So this view hasn't changed a lot, but you can see there's lots of new buildings and development going on, renovations. This is favourite views in London here, walking along the South Bank now as we head towards Waterloo, the city. And this is Hungerford Bridge into Charing Cross Station, which is under that rather ghastly 80s office building. Here's the Southbank Shell Centre. This used to be just the offices of Shell, but now it's been redeveloped in some new apartments around it. And there's always things happening on the South Bank. It's a big cultural centre in London, whether it's indoor, outdoor, there's lots of venues. And the footbridge, that used to be a terrible rickety old footbridge across the bridge, which was a bit crowded and quite dangerous, but now it's been expanded, thankfully. And then coming up on the other side of the river, on the embankment, you can see there the Savoy Hotel, and there is Cleopatra's Needle, which was stolen from Egypt during that time in our history. So here's Royal Festival Hall that was built in the 1950s, late 50s, early 60s. And my mum used to work here as an usherette when she first moved to London when she was a teenager, such a long time ago. It's a great cultural centre, lots of restaurants and bars as well now, and the whole complex has expanded. You'll see more as we walk further along. It's a little bit of a concrete carbuncle, but it has history and importance architecturally. And here under Waterloo Bridge there's always a book fair, and the British Film Institute, which has an impressive archive and viewing. And here's the National Theatre. I've been here a few times. National Theatre linked with the theatre in our hometown in Sheffield as well. Famously, next to the National Theatre, here's another building that looks the same, but it's actually an IBM office. They never had a logo on it for security reasons. And in this gap here now, behind these food stalls, used to be London Weekend Television, but it's gone now. So looking back across the river, you can see the BT Tower, the old post office tower, and some of the boats and bars on the riverside. So we're coming now towards the views of Blackfriars, which is where I started my career. There's St Paul's Cathedral, and you can see the edge of the City of London. And this has changed so much since I started working here. This is at Gabriel's Wharf, the Coin Street development, or Oxo Tower. These are all refurbished parts of the South Bank. Back when I first went to London, back in the 80s when I was a kid, none of this was here. It was all run down old warehouses and undeveloped, and I'm really pleased that these things have been changed and improved, and they're still going. So we stopped here for lunch at the Gourmet Pizza Company, somewhere I've been going for 30 years or more. So here at Blackfriars you can see the old Unilever building, the towers of the Barbican Centre and St Paul's. Now St Paul's views are very, very protected in London. There are rules and laws to stop you building and blocking it. Whereas over here, as you can see, there's lots of new towers. Now that's a small pub next to the bridge called the Doggett, Coat and Badge, where I used to go for after work drinks, because I used to work just across there on the other side of what is now the station on top of the bridge. Back in the 90s it wasn't as convenient as that. You could only access it from the north side of the river. I think it's very clever the way they extended the station platform to cover the whole railway bridge, so you have a station at each side effectively. So yes, over there next to the bridge behind those trees is what was KPMG's first headquarters, my first office, and yeah, the view from my desk would have been of a tree now, but we had a good view at the time. As you can see, we were on the edge of the City of London, and how that landscape has changed. So here's Tate Modern, what was formerly an abandoned power station because you couldn't burn fuels in the centre of the city anymore, and is now the home of modern art. It's fantastic. This is the original turbine hall, big gallery space, great for large sculptural pieces, and it's free. So if you're in the area, please go, and it has an excellent shop. The Millennium Footbridge here, famously known as the Wobbly Bridge. Well, it should be formally wobbly because it was closed for a year after it was opened to be re-supported and redone to stop it being dangerous. This is Bankside, lovely area just past Tate Modern. I always wanted to live in one of these houses when I first saw them. Not very convenient, but beautiful location. And right along here is the reconstruction of the Globe Theatre. So if you're into Shakespeare, you've got to go and see a performance. Just be wary of the fact you're going to be standing for at least 3 hours. And of course, there's a very good pub next door. And here's the Anchor, a pub where my mum and dad used to go for drinks when they first met, back in the late 60s. Very different neighbourhood now. It's been redeveloped under the arches. There's all sorts of exciting venues and restaurants and bars, as you can see. And here's the replica of the Golden Hind, the 16th century ocean-going ship of Sir Francis Drake, the first English vessel to circumnavigate the world. And now we're at London Bridge, the famous modern replacement of the original London Bridge, which was purchased by somebody who thought they were buying a different bridge, shall we say. There's Cannon Street Station, and here we are at Borough Market. Now this is famously the location of Bridget Jones's apartment. She could never have afforded to live here based on the salary she had in that story, but yeah, everybody knows that place. Now, unfortunately, we got to Borough Market on a Monday afternoon, and as you can see, it's not open on Mondays. Never mind, it's a good place to visit if you like food, and come and see it when it's open. However, the bars and coffee shops around the market were open, which was good because by this time, both Simon and I needed to sit down, have a cup of coffee and recharge. So London Bridge is a gateway into the City of London district over there with all these new buildings, so many of them. You can see the walkie-talkie, the cheese grater, whatever the other ones are called. And there at the back is the NatWest Tower, which used to be the tallest building in the UK when I was working in London. Look at it, dwarfed now. So as you come along the footpath, we go under London Bridge towards London Bridge City. Now, London Bridge Station is where my dad used to come into work, and when I stayed with him, I used to come up to London for the day and go and explore as a teenager, and then meet him in time for the train home after his day. And he used to work at Lloyd's of London, which is that modernist structure in the middle with all the pipes and fittings on the outside, dwarfed now by everything around it. This is the Cotton Centre, London Bridge Hospital. I had so many graduate interviews at consulting and accounting firms back here in the 80s. Didn't work for any of them, but went to KPMG instead. Very happy with that choice. And here is HMS Belfast, a former Second World War naval ship, which is now a museum. Fascinating, really worth exploring. And I know people who've been on scout visits who've slept there overnight. And it's just across from the City of London here. There's a tower in the background. We'll come on and see more of that shortly. So I took a little diversion from here. As you can see, the next location, this is slightly inland from the river, London Bridge Station under the Shard Tower there. So this is where Sean and I met on our first date quite a long time ago. No blue plaque to commemorate that event though, yet. And this is where we went, the Horniman, a pub that's been there for a long time and now part of this renovated Hayes Galleria. I used to come drinking here with my dad back in the 80s. When I started working, I thought the aim of my career would be to working in some refurbished city development like this. I look back now and I think, how would I have felt if I'd known where I'd be going, and the places I'd go to, and where I live now would be unrecognisable. And across from the Hayes Galleria is the Tower of London. I last went there about 10, 11 years ago with my niece and nephew on a day out. You can see the Royal Crown Jewels and meet the Beefeaters. Definitely worth visiting if you're interested in British history. And there's Tower Bridge, and coming up is the former City Hall. So this used to be where the Mayor of London was based and the London Assembly, but they've moved further to the Docklands. And all this is renovated. Back in the 80s when I was a youngster walking around here, it was all dodgy, run-down warehouses and not a lot to see. I've just remembered that the head of the Beefeater Guards at one time was a member of our extended family, although I have to say I've never met him. So there you go, 2 tenuous links to royal properties in one video. I think I should stop with those stories now. So Tower Bridge does actually have a raising bridge in the centre there, and at certain times of the day, to allow large ships to enter, traffic will be stopped and it raises up. So yes, definitely worth again another visit. It used to be so grimy and dirty, but now it got cleaned up in the 80s, thankfully. London used to be such a polluted city, much less now. So I hope you have enjoyed this walk, and if you are in London on a good day and you feel like walking a few miles over several hours, I recommend retracing this route. And here are some other videos from London that you might enjoy. Please do comment, like, share and subscribe. The new video every week, and thank you to our friend Simon who accompanied me on this trip today. Bye bye.